You are listening to the Worlding Podcast, where we explore the relationship of how we are both shaping and being shaped by our surroundings. The podcast traces interconnections by inviting each episode's guest to pass on the mic to someone who has influenced their world. And now, here's your host, dance artist Renae Shadler.
Hello, my beautiful friends. It's so nice to be back at the mic after a gap between recording Series 8 and starting this exciting new series, Series 9, the 28th episode of Worlding. Time is really flying. And I'm kicking it off with my guest, Hincapié Charry, a Colombian BIPOC artist based in Berlin. Marta works as a choreographer, performer, researcher, and as a decolonial dance and performance curator. Thanks so much for chatting with us, Marta.
Hi, how are you doing? So nice to be here with you. Thank you so much for the invite. Really looking forward to chat with you.
Yeah, I was so impressed going through even how to introduce you for this podcast, because there are so many different hats you're wearing of curator and performer and even a researcher and activist. I didn't mention this. You were recently protesting at the Humboldt Forum in Berlin. So I know there's many directions this conversation could go in, but particularly through the lens of worlding and shaping and being shaped by our surroundings. I would love to focus on your relationship to place and the soft activism work you're doing through your recent performance and stage work, Amazonia 2040, which was just presented recently at Tanz in August in Berlin. Congratulations.
Thank you. There are many directions. It looks like I'm going in many directions, but to me it's all part of the same practice. Like they have all the same core, and so somehow for me it's kind of organic to mix them all these perspectives when I move, because I feel they open up the lens, as you say, of what I'm working with. And I think one perspective is not enough, because it's very complex and it has, of course, many possibilities and many views and many ways of expression. So I think like only one medium is sometimes it's not enough to approach it. Yeah. And my recent work, Amazonia 2040, is a solo performance. It's actually kind of duo of myself with a video installation of 55 minutes long video installation and performance. It's an homage to the Amazonia rainforest, and I talk about the past, the present, and the future of the Amazon, and about the many Amazonias. There are some of the many Amazonias, because I cannot reach them all in just 1 hour. But I just try to have a dialogue with some of their peoples, and of course with the river and the forest and the animals and the insects and the spirits of the rainforest.
Yeah, when I was thinking about your work, I landed on this word, soft activism, 2 words actually, because I know in this performance you're also interpreting a lot of research in a very felt and haptic way. And these are often statistics we receive through reports or articles about environmental conservation. And I'm very interested in how this activism goes through a dance performance, because I think this is something that is perhaps also new for people when they think about dance, that it is this form of activism and can be used to really motivate people, and in a very pragmatic way.
I think it's important to find a way to get the people involved, especially, you know, when they come to a stage and they get to sit down with no phone and in a dark place, and they take the time to be present. So I think this is really like a privilege, and I think what you say is very soft in a way that I'm not pointing fingers, but it would be nice if someone could be inspired and touched, and maybe to take this time in this space where we are isolated, we are in a safe space where the energy is also not away with the sounds of the city, and to really take the time maybe to reflect about what's going on, what is our position nowadays as humans in the planet, no, and how can we maybe shift our position, because as we can see what's going on nowadays, the natural resources, with the way we are hurting the earth and the planet with extractivism, it's not working. It's not doing well for not for the Amazonia, but we have it also here in Ukraine, and it's all related to the soil, no, to the richness of the earth, and it doesn't, if you see it in a political way, maybe it doesn't look like, but in a spiritual way, it's the same war. It's the same war that is happening in the Amazonia rainforest with the natural resources. So it's very it's beyond the performance, and it's beyond it's not isolated, you know, it's all interconnected.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know also when you were creating the piece that you spent 3 months in the Amazonias, and that was really in March 2020, so the start of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that experience and really what your connection to place was there during these 3 months, and also coming in, I don't know if that was your first time in the Amazonias or how that was for you also, coming to a new land perhaps?
Yeah, I had the chance to be in the Brazilian Amazonia, but in 2020 I went to the Colombian Amazonia to make the research for the piece. And of course, the pandemic started months before already in Wuhan, in China, but to Europe and to the Americas, it arrived later. And in Colombia, in March 2020, the president announced a total lockdown, which meant like airports were closed, and also the roads, like you could not move from one town to the other town, even little towns, not only cities. And also they closed. I was in a spot where you could easily move through the river to Brazil and Peru, like the borders there are quite open, but they also close the borders. So many crazy things happen, like it was happening all around the planet, no? There was lots of misinformation and panic and craziness, and of course it was different than for the people in a city, because we were still in open air, no, inside nature. So there was freedom to move, but there was a lot of fear. It made me think about 500 years ago, when colonization with the Spaniards arrived to the Americas, and our ancestors start to get all this sickness they didn't know before, and they didn't know how to fight. So I could feel that panic and that confusion of what's going on with that. What is people getting sick? Why is people dying? How can we? Of course, they have the rituals, medicine with the shamans, but it's different when it's a sickness coming from abroad that maybe you don't know how the the plant medicines, local, native, could fight these sicknesses, because there wasn't previous knowledge about it. Even though the communities they came together and stronger, many of them performing rituals that maybe were getting endangered, and then the communities they came together to perform them in a stronger way. And even the young people that start, they start to get influenced by tourism, and because colonialism is still happening. So the young people that maybe start to look outside of the communities, and they get curious about all these people that are coming with different cultures and different perspectives, and they start to get away from their communities, but then they go back. But anyways, it was hard, because anyways the virus arrived, and some elders got sick, and even they died, elders that were protectors of ancestral knowledge. So yeah, that was very, very critical.
Yeah. It's so interesting also, this moment of climax that the pandemic creates.
Yeah.
Like in what you were saying also, of this moment of isolation, and how that can also strengthen a community, that the younger people don't have this access like they did before to tourists and people coming in with outside goods, but they're actually connecting to place. I definitely felt that even in Berlin, not being able to travel, because I was traveling a lot for work. I think a lot of people in different locations really rooted down, people that were often traversing space quite a lot. So to hear that also within a Indigenous community, of course, they're also experiencing a similar reality of needing to connect with people nearby, not being so international, but also not only on the perspective of moving outwards, but receiving people coming in. I think that's a shift I hadn't thought about before, actually, how communities that were being seen as a spectacle, because I know this can happen a lot in the Amazonias, that people go to see it and then they leave.
Yeah.
But what is that effect of coming to look and observe? How does that make a human feel, but also the surroundings, when they're leaving litter, when they're stepping on the earth more than perhaps the usual foot traffic would be? Did you feel that there was also this regeneration in the earth during the pandemic with less tourists?
Yeah, of course, like all around the planet, not having airplanes and not having traffic, of course, air conditions got better, and I think all around we could see nature blooming, in the ways that we don't allow it. So of course it happened also over there. Latin America is a very complex space, and this happened that the communities got closer, stronger together, but also deforestation peak during the pandemic because also the little control that is over deforestation in the jungle like was gone. So it didn't favor the jungle in that way. Yeah, that was what happened because anyway, many things stopped. The resources were still needed and commercialized. And so in that way, in that perspective, the pandemic didn't favor the rainforest. Like deforestation got much worse from 2020 on, and I don't think it got better now.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Deforestation in 2020 in the Amazonia was as big as Belgium, a territory big as Belgium. And last year it doubled by 100%.
And how do you juggle these different hats and also these different informations? Like even hearing it now, and perhaps also for listeners, I definitely have this sensation of overwhelm of, there being so much that is difficult and complicated, and feeling quite confused in that, also being based in Europe and connecting to somewhere so far away, also geographically. And I know you're physically moving between those spaces, like traveling between them. How is that for you, dealing with this information and also processing it physically through your work?
To me, of course, it can be also overwhelming. I try to be updated as much as I can. I'm in contact with several communities and also with scientifics. Like I work together with scientifics that they all became my friends, and we are in constant contact. So I and of course is to me it's painful. Like it's really painful and it's overwhelming. But then I just when I did that piece that I premiered also in 2020, in August 2020, it was like I felt like it was the moment to talk about it to me. Like I say, okay, I have to do this right now, and to find a way to translate it and to share with people that feel, especially here in Europe, that the Amazonia is so far away, and they people don't have any relationship to it, and people also for security, also not to feel this pain or this overwhelm, construct this distance. Maybe also an intellectual or physical distance. And yeah, I felt like to me it was just like the moment to try to translate this into in a video installation and a live performance, where I could share with some others, because it's really like even during the pandemic, like people were writing some articles that I was following in the press, also like trying to diminish the importance and the influence of the Amazonia. But even like every time we take air, like when we breathe in, like we can do it right now. Whatever you are doing, don't stop it. Just take a deep breath in, very, very deep, and just continue breathing. And from this air that we just took once, 20% come from the Amazonia rainforest. And 20% is a lot, even if it sounds like very little. But this is a lot, especially when we are breathing smoke and pollution on a daily basis when we are in the cities. So, and this is just a little number and a little fact But of course, deforestation is only happening for cow breeding. So it also related to the consume of meat. And there is also happening to plant soya to feed the cows. And of course, there is also a lot of mining, taking gold and petroleum and all the kind of minerals that are all around the Amazon rainforest. That is also not just Brazil. Sometimes people think that I'm talking about Brazil only, but the Amazon rainforest belongs to 6 different countries. Like only Colombia, 40% of Colombia is the Amazon rainforest, it's the jungle. 40% is a lot of a country. And yeah, it belongs to, it's a huge territory, and the damage is happening all around. It's not only happening in Brazil. Of course, because of Bolsonaro, it's brutal what is happening in Brazil nowadays. And it gets lots of focus, as it should be, of course, but also because the press, especially in Europe, is sometimes it's just looking to Brazil because it's also an economical partner, very important to Europe, and the focus is there, but otherwise they don't speak about the other regions and countries and situations. I have I don't know how you see it, but to me it's like this is how I perceive it.
Absolutely, this complexity also of how 6 different countries connect through the rainforest and the cultures that take place in different parts. I can imagine it's very diverse, actually. And from the outside, sometimes it's very efficient to say, okay, this is one thing and this works like this, but actually it's also very violent. This is really colonialism at its core, right? To project from the outside what something is and how it should behave, a correct way of behaving. So as someone who's never been to the rainforest in the Amazonias, I have to say I have absolutely no idea. So it's really nice to really listen to someone who has firsthand experience and for you to share it so generously on the show. That's really important, actually.
Okay, good to know. Good to hear. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bore people with numbers and data, but I think it's also important to be informed.
I know also that alongside the research you've been doing in the Amazonas, you've also been connecting with the Kuji people, which are very interesting also in terms of the perspective of worlding, because I was reading some of the articles again that they themselves wrote, so really also allowing people from that place to talk of that place. And they were mentioning also their belief system that every object or being has both a spiritual aspect and a physical reality, both of which originate in thought. And I found this very beautiful, actually, also in this perspective of shaping and being shaped by our surroundings, that they weren't having this divide, actually, of internal and external, which can also be quite violent.
Yeah, I've been going already for a couple of years to this place, also in Colombia, north of Colombia, it's a mountain known in Spanish. The colonizer's name is La Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, where it is inhabited by 4 native communities. One is the Kogi, and the others are the Arhuacos, the Wiwa, and the Cancuamos. And they come all from the Tairona culture, but they divided in 4 different families. And they have their own language, and they share a base, very strong spiritual base, but they have their own culture, and they are very strong. they are, they never got colonized by the Spaniards because they protect themselves up in the mountains. This is a very special mountain because it starts by the sea in the Caribbean of Colombia, and it finishes up with snowy peaks. So in this mountain, you can find actually all the climates and habitats that exist in the planet. So that's why they call it the heart of the world. So as the Amazonia is the lungs of the planet, then this mountain is the heart of the planet. And it functions as a mirror of what's going on in the planet, and they can read it. Like, for example, I don't know if you remember in 2019, the fires in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Yeah. And before it happens, the fires, this mountain was burning for the very first time in a very hard way that they couldn't control. They have fires, but they have been always able to control them. And in 2019, they became beyond their power to stop, to being stopped. And two very important towns where shamans go to get their knowledge and were born, and then they took it as a sign of a not very positive situation to come. And then the fires in Australia came, and then also the fires in the Amazonia, which also happens in Amazonia usually, but not as strong as it happens in 2019. And from there on, also in 2020, like every year, it's just getting worse and worse. So I've been working with these communities and collaborating with them, and it's been very beautiful because it's also, as you say, I think they are also soft activists. They are like peaceful warriors, and their relationship with nature, the dialogue with nature is like the base of their culture, and it's very, very strong. And they resist all these years of colonialism to keep it safe, their ancestral knowledge. And of course, nowadays it's getting endangered again because of tourism. There are so many people coming now to this mountain from all around the world, and also agriculture. Like people are buying the land again to put cows and to plant, to make their own business. So they are getting invaded again. And also people approach them because extractivism is not just in relationship with the earth, but there's also knowledge extractivism and spiritual extractivism. And some people are also behind this. It's not in favor of the communities. It's not a reciprocal relationship usually. And yes, they have a common relationship also with the people of the Amazonia. But I think you talk about God when you talk about it, but they believe in this figure of God is not a God, but it's a goddess. Spiritually, they have, of course, many common points with the Amazonian cultures, even though they are each very particular. The source of it all is a female source, and which is also reflected in what the earth is. No, the earth energy is female. The spirits are not divided from the earth or from the body or from the everyday life. And it's more like a holistic holistic point of view, or even from politics, from what we know as politics, or from what we know as religion, is all interdependent and interconnected, and they are not separated issues.
Actually, what I was reading was not so much linked to gender, but the relationship with place. So this idea of thought and object and spiritual aspect all being interconnected.
Yeah.
The aluna was this belief that they were speaking about that all reality is created by thought. And I thought this, for the perspective of worlding, was very interesting for me, how the division, this binary of even male and female on a very small level, but also of me and place, was really broken down, and it was very entangled together, which for us is really this ecological thought that has become quite present in certain circles of European thinking and talking at the moment. It's become a big topic, but it's actually within these cultures been a practice of lifetimes since they know, and definitely coming from Australia and having siblings that are from Indigenous community, there was never this divide. This is something that's come after, and
right,
is really something that I think you're addressing, to go back to the piece Amazonia 2040, that this interconnection also of time, of past, present and future, and of human body and land as being outside of that, is something that you're really addressing, which I find very on point, especially at the moment in these huge ecological disasters. How do we return to this knowledge and really value it, actually, and listen to it?
Yeah.
I think this is the main point, to really, really listen. And lots of people, that's a new practice. A soft activism and listening is something that we're learning now through absolute necessity.
Yeah, totally. This chaos and catastrophe that we are experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love also to share with listeners a little bit from Amazonia 2040, because there's a beautiful moment in the work where you invite audiences to touch soil and be with soil. Mm-hmm. And as part of this podcast, I'm inviting guests to share a proposition with listeners so we can embody your research. And I have a special request that you share this moment with us. Is that possible?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know what people may be up to right now, what they are doing while listening this. But yeah, what I want to invite you to do is just, no matter what you are, try to find a pinch of earth, like something that you can grab in one hand, just a little bit of soil, no matter where you are, if you are in an apartment or an office, or in a studio. Like, try to find around you a plant, or maybe you have to go out to the street. So let's see how far from you is the soil or a little bit of earth right now. If you have to displace yourself and to move around, just to grab some in one hand. You have yours?
I have my earth.
Okay, you got it? Okay.
Yes.
So just feel it with your fingers and just perceive the texture of the soil, the temperature, and see if there is something else inside, like maybe stones and maybe any other kind of material that you can recognize or not. And we are going just to recall this conversation from today. And we're going to grab one idea that we can do to be soft with the earth, or to support the earth in any of the things that we can think about. Just pick one situation. It doesn't matter what it is. I just think of one situation and how you can help to support it, to heal, or to recover. Something that you think you could do, or not even yourself, something that you think that it could be helpful or necessary nowadays, or something that could shift one of the situations of the ideas that come into your head right now. Just pick one and just think of a situation that you can do or think about. Even if you cannot do it yourself physically, if you think it's not possible to go out and do it yourself today or tomorrow, it doesn't matter. Just think, okay, what I believe or what I feel like the planet or the earth could need right now is this and this and this. Do you have yours, Renae? Could you pick one?
Yeah, it's very complicated.
Just go for one situation, and...
Okay, I have one, yes.
You have one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can just pick one of the things that we spoke about today.
Mm-hmm.
And then decide, okay, I will do this to support the earth, or this could happen to make a situation better. It doesn't matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if you yourself are not able to do it physically. Okay, and once you got it, you're going to plant this idea into this earth in your hand. Just think that this idea becomes a seed, and put it into the soil in your head. Just plant it there. And then you're gonna see this seed inside the soil in your head. And you're gonna see it growing, started to make some roots, and little green things coming out of the seed, and it's starting to grow. And you see it becoming little by little bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger. Until it becomes a little plant inside your hand that you can hold it with your hand. And you can see the shiny green, the new green when it's like a spring coming out. And once you see that it's a little stable plant inside the palm of your hand, you're going to go back and you're going to plant it into the soil, back into the soil. Wherever you took it from, go back and plant it there. And then, you can leave it there, and from time to time put some water and watch it grow and watch it thrive. and see what happens with your seed planted in this soil.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Marta. I feel a very strong desire to share my experience. Is that possible?
Of course.
I know
please.
everybody has different experiences depending where you are.
Yeah.
But I actually took some soil from like a little fern that sits next to my computer on my desk.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was so nice to see the soil was quite wet.
Okay.
And I noticed like I also tend to water it quite often because I see it so much and we're kind of working together.
Yeah.
But I also realized that it doesn't need so much water. And I think this is also really nice to listen to what the plant requires. Like I thought, actually this process of spending time with, I know I've been working recently with the Quilambaki in Sao Paulo, and I was talking to them when we started working that as a Caucasian artist from European background, I also felt that inviting them into a project could be also a little bit this extractionism, yeah, as a European approaching this group and inviting them in, even though, of course, we're sharing resources and they're benefiting from the project and they come to it willingly. I was interested in how we could work in a decolonial way. And they said it's about maintaining connection. So it's not about coming and taking the trees and leaving, but continuing to tend to, and in this tending relationship and stewardship, actually listening to when they need water or not being overly careful. So it was a really nice reminder of that. How that relationship can be very healthy also if you listen to it.
Yeah, yes. Great. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, pleasure. And now it's on my desk. I see it all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a nice reminder.
Yeah, you can check it out from time to time.
Yeah. For listeners also to experience Marta's work live, I would like to also invite you to a Moving Across Thresholds festival weekend that Marta will be facilitating on the 26th and 27th of November in Stralsund, which is the north of Germany, and it's free for participants. I've mentioned it on the podcast before. It's an ongoing lab that I'm facilitating and curating around barriers and the act of crossing them. So how we can really think into these perceived edges or structural limitations, whether they be cultural or physical, and really look into them as ways of moving and thinking differently. So you can find the details on the movingacrossthresholds.com website. And we'd love you to join us in November and go deeper into Marta's beautiful research into place. And especially if you get a chance to see Amazonia 2040, you're still touring it, I believe, Marta. It's continuing.
Yeah, I have a couple of dates. So, yeah, I will be a little bit on the road.
Yeah, I really encourage people to check it out. It's a beautiful thing to witness live. And before we wrap up this show, who will you pass the microphone on to, continuing the string figure from our conversation today?
Well, I would like to keep it as a surprise for you all.
Ooh.
Because many people come into my mind, people I've been working with, and they are very, very important, and they have a lot to share. But yeah, it will be like a continuation of the topic in a different direction, a very particular direction, of course. But yeah, I will like to keep the people curious just to connect next time and to see where are we going from here.
Wow.
If it's okay for you, with you, Renae.
Absolutely. I love the suspense.
Okay.
It's great. It also allows us to continue the listening practice. Yeah. Let's listen to what Marta lines up on the next episode. And, with a perspective of curiosity and not knowing. I think it's a really beautiful invitation for some soft activism. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful to be here with you.
Thank you for listening to the Worlding Podcast. Gefördert durch die Beauftragte der Bundesregierung für Kultur und Medien im Programm NEUSTART Kultur. Hilfsprogramm des Tanzen des Dachverband Tanz Deutschland.